It's the end of the world as we know it. What options do you have for surviving? Okay, so it's quite unlikely, but it's a fascinating approach to imagine all the varied abilities we'd need to survive. What would you do if you could travel anywhere? What items would you bring with you? Would you be able to reestablish society if you were given the opportunity? Check out our top survival recommendations if you ever find yourself in a situation when the world is ending. 1. Know how to stay alive. Imagine you've been stranded in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. How do you stay alive? Well, there are a slew of commonplace items that could come in handy in an emergency. A. Purify water. In a post-apocalyptic future, making sure your drinking water is safe will be critical to avoiding disease. Boiling is a great way to save energy, but it consumes a lot of it. Bleach, sodium hypochlorite, or even swimming pool chlorine, calcium hypochlorite, can be diluted to chemically disinfect suspicious water, and iodine tablets can be scavenged from the wreckage of camping stores. Sunlight, on the other hand, can be used to keep you hydrated in a safe manner. In poor countries, the World Health Organization recommends solar disinfection. Simply fill plastic bottles with water and place in the sun. UV rays will travel right through the water, killing microorganisms in about a day. B. Generate power. The power grids may be knocked out relatively instantly, and electricity isn't something you can hoard. You could scavenge mobile diesel generators from construction sites, but when fuel gets scarcer, you'll have to rely on renewable energy sources like wind and solar. Electricity can be generated from improvised water wheels and windmills using an alternator scavenged from any abandoned car, which can then be stored in massive rechargeable batteries. Golf buggies and mobility scooters include deep cycle batteries, which are designed to give a constant quantity of electricity over a long period of time, making them ideal for storing your off-grid power supply. C. Grow food. Your post-apocalyptic group will only be able to eat the remains of a fallen civilization for a limited amount of time. The food in the preserved cans on the abandoned grocery shelves will be devoured or spoiled soon. And to avoid starvation, you'll need to have redeveloped agriculture by the time it happens. A beginning stock of viable seeds is required. The Global Seed Vault is a doomsday-proof facility excavated deep into a frigid mountainside on the Arctic island of Svalbard. D. Drive a car powered by trees. You'll still be able to benefit from mechanization and cars once the remaining diesel and petrol fuel has run out. The internal combustion engine can be modified to run on flammable gases created by the thermal breakdown of wood, a process called pyrolysis. During the World War II fuel shortages, more than 1 million wood-gasifier automobiles were on the road across Europe. From the 17th century, dry distillation of wood, heating it without oxygen, was employed to make useful chemicals including creosote, turpentine, methanol, and acetone. E. Prevent infection. Apart from acquiring safe drinking water, the most crucial thing you can do to stay alive in a post-apocalyptic world without antibiotics is to avoid contracting diseases. Soap is created by boiling animal fat or plant oil with quicklime, roasted chalk or limestone, and soda, and is extremely efficient at preventing gastrointestinal and respiratory diseases. Ethanol can be made from fermented fruit or grain and is useful for wound disinfection. You can even create a modest gas fire stove out of tin cans, says the author. It makes use of the same gasification technology that was utilized to power cars across Europe during World War II. 2. Choose a good hideout. First and foremost, get out of the cities. Many of us now live in cities because they are convenient and full of shops, but if civilization crumbled and you had to fend for yourself, the city would be one of the worst places to be. What if you don't have access to electricity, gas, running water, lights, or heat, and you can't grow your own food since everything is covered in tarmac? You'll want to get out of the city and into the countryside. Find a site near a river where you can drink fresh water and begin how to grow your own food. Just stay clear of the Arctic Circle and the middle of a desert. 3. Pack a survival kit. Pretend you've been given a 4-minute warning to leave the house. Grab some fresh water and food cans. Don't worry if you forget your can opener. You now know how to open one without one. A knife, rope for tying things, or, if you don't have any, your iPod headphones. Don't forget the sterilizing water in the empty plastic bottle. It's all about being resourceful, inventive, and creative in your use of resources. According to recent data, over a third of the UK population, 36%, is already prepared and keeps a bug-out bag, a 72-hour survival kit, on hand in case tragedy comes. 4. Use your mobile phone. The one thing we all can't live without these days is our cell phones, but they wouldn't be much use if society collapsed. The GPS feature on your phone, on the other hand, will continue to work for at least a couple of months. If the satellites are abandoned, I estimate we have about 6 months of life left in them, so while you won't be able to call people or tweet for help, the map function will continue to work because it relies on satellite signals rather than the mobile phone network, and the same goes for your smartphone compass. 5. Become a super scavenger. Learning to scrounge and hunt for the items you need is the most important part of living. A car battery and alternator are two of the best things you can get your hands on. To recharge the batteries, create a basic windmill or a watermill out of them. You can charge your phone with a scavenged solar panel. And if you're looking for a compass, an analog wristwatch will suffice. Simply point the minute hand towards the sun, and it will show you where south is halfway between the number 12 and the hour hand. 6. Gather a useful gang. You may have envisioned who you'd bring with you in the event of an apocalypse. Who would be the most useful? Do you know anyone who has an allotment and is capable of growing their own food? Or someone skilled with their hands, such as a carpenter or metal craftsman, or someone skilled at repairing things, such as a mechanic? When it comes to rebuilding society, these are the folks who will be most useful. Computer programmers and astrobiologists, like me, will almost certainly need to pick up a few more useful abilities. 7. And what about a zombie apocalypse? A prison would be one of the safest places to be during a zombie apocalypse, not that one would ever happen. They're wonderful at keeping people in, but they're also great at keeping people out, thanks to their high walls and barbed wire fences. Find one with its own water supply and food supply, dig up the parking lot to plant crops, and you've got yourself an extremely safe hideaway. 8. Maintain an optimistic attitude. This is likely to be the most difficult task, especially if you're alone or injured. But, in the end, if you remain hopeful, this difficulty will be simpler to bear. All the more motivation if you have children with you. Allowing your principles to get in the way of your identity is not a good idea. The rules are no longer the same. It doesn't imply you've transformed into an animal because you decided someone isn't picking up their slack and the team should, as a result, cut their losses. Assess your morals as you see fit, but keep in mind that the world has changed dramatically, and you must adapt to stay alive and productive. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe to our channel and leave a big thumbs up.